Live from the National Museum of African American History and Culture, this is a special edition of Good Morning Washington.
It's almost real. It's here.
A dream decades in the making.
I did everything but cry today. I held back my tears.
Now, a stunning reality.
You do not expect to see a building like this.
This morning, we are counting down to the National Mall's historic new addition.
Right in the shadow of the Washington Monument, the White House.
That means so much.
But people marched. But people prayed. But people dreamed.
To so many. Well, such an emotional weekend here on the National Mall. 224 years after slaves first began building the White House. 63 years since M.L. King spoke of having a dream on the National Mall. We are right back here on the mall, and from now on, beginning tomorrow at 1 o'clock, the African Americans will have their story told through the National African American History Museum of History and Culture. Glad you're with us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Larry Smith. So much to get to here on the National Mall. We have live team coverage for you. John Gonzalez, my friend, is on the other side of the mall with the security story for tomorrow. We've got Julie Wright checking traffic. Let's start, though, with Veronica Johnson. And what's just an absolute gorgeous day right now. What's our forecast look like for later on today?
For later on today, how about a little bit of summer? How about a little bit of early September type temperatures for us? Calling it comfortable to start this morning here. It's going to be very invigorating. We'll get that warm temperatures today again into the upper 80s across the area. Really looking like probably the last really warm day that we're going to get. But commuter forecasts all the way through. It's a green light for us, feeling again like summer today. First, though, a cool start. Temperatures, though, will be warming very quickly. We're 59 Leesburg, 59 also Manassas, as well as Joint Base Andrews right now with that 67 degrees right now inside of the Beltway. So it's going to be a hot one today, but again, with low humidity, it'll just be a bit of a warm breeze for us. That 89, again, closer to what you would find first part of September. The average now here, typically, 77 degrees. Again, we're way above it today. It's the warmest day out of the five next couple of days. Sunday's looking like our coolest day. Tuesday is the next best chance of getting some rain in here. So Saturday's a forecast, more sunshine for us with a little bit of clouds rolling in late Sunday. It's a cool morning, but a mild afternoon. We'll show you those temperatures, take you hour by hour for the weekend coming up in 10 minutes. Julie?
All right, VJ. Well, we're talking about the African American Museum of History and Culture and, of course, the closures traffic-wise that'll take place beginning tonight at 7 o'clock along 15th Street between Constitution Avenue and Main Avenue. Also, Madison and Jefferson will be shut down between 7th and 15th Street. Metro, again, is suggesting that you use the Smithsonian and Federal Triangle stops, but they're going to be jam-packed, so you may want to use another stop and just walk a couple of blocks back. And like VJ said, it's going to be a great weekend for that. Tomorrow, the biggest closure is going to be Constitution Avenue all day between 12th and 18th Streets. Do keep that in mind. And then, of course, on Sunday, Constitution Avenue shut down again between 14th and 18th Streets. Also closures along 14th and 15th. All right, what's happening right now on the roads? You will find the crash with one overturned BW Parkway northbound before the Beltway. The right side of the road was squeezing through. Look for delays out of Hyattsville southbound on the brakes from the Beltway headed out towards 410. And then the wreck eastbound Route 100 at Coca-Cola Drive. Police tell me they're still waiting for a tow truck to arrive at the scene. That's our traffic watch. Back within the next 10 minutes and we will update your ride on the roads and the rails. Back over to you, Larry.
Okay, Julie, thanks. Back out here live on the National Mall as we continue our coverage on Good Morning Washington of the opening tomorrow of the Smithsonian National African American Museum of History and Culture. Here's what you need to know for tomorrow. At 8 a.m., there is a gathering and musical prelude. That's ahead of the dedication ceremony at 10 o'clock. President Obama will ring the Liberty Bell, and that coming in from the First Baptist Church in Williamsburg, Virginia, the historic black church. And that bell going back to the 1820s and actually was rung back in the 1865 to signal the end of slavery at the end of the Civil War. And then at 1 o'clock, the doors will open. If you do not have tickets or you do not know anyone who has tickets already, you just will have to wait because those are already taken. Tickets are free, but go online and reserve them, and there are still some available beginning November 1st as of this moment. Now, again, about 20,000 people expected down here on the National Mall, and that means tight security and how to work around that. For the details, we go to John Gonzalez following that angle for us here, again, live on the National Mall. John, good morning.
Larry, good morning. And already at this early morning hour, we have been seeing a lot of local and federal police making their rounds around the National Mall. And take a look. You can see there's actually a lot of activity going on here near the Washington Monument, just feet from the new museum. On the other side from where you are standing, Larry, you see the purple lights there, the Jumbotrons being set up, the stages, and we are seeing extra police. I'm going to step back into the shot just to show you. Take a look at these fences. There are just large fences, thousands and thousands of feet of fencing around the National Mall. And if you look through one of the fences here, that right there is one of the security checkpoints where visitors will have to go through to be screened. And as thousands descend on the National Mall starting this morning, well, one big question is, where will people be allowed to be? Where will they get in and out? Well, we can tell you that security is going to be extra tight. And regardless if you are coming to the dedication ceremony tomorrow or the concerts throughout the weekend, you will be screened. The National Park Service, police, the lead on this event, getting help from D.C. Police and the Secret Service. We can tell you that here near the National Mall, near the monument, I should say, there are two checkpoints, both on 17th Street, one at Constitution Avenue, which is where we are, the other on Independence. Now, the museum is urging visitors, the public, to pack lightly. There are items that will be banned, including coolers, bikes, chairs, folding tables, balloons, glass containers, and anything, Larry, police deem as a weapon. It's going to be a historic weekend, but police have a lot of moving parts here. Just follow the rules. Back to you inside, or back to you, Larry, on the other side of the National Mall.
On the other side, that's right, exactly. So back to you outside. John, thanks so much. But great information there, but there's no question. And as you mentioned before, security very tight all the way through. Julie Wright mentioned a few minutes ago, but let's show you once again, those road closures begin at 7 o'clock tonight. So take heed if you are driving around, even if you're not going to anything, if you're just trying to get in and around this area. These are the road closures. And again, all authorities are urging everyone to please take public transportation to get here if you're trying to come in tomorrow morning or again throughout the festivities here through the weekend that begin at noon, as John just mentioned, here on the National Mall. By the way, if you cannot make it out here tomorrow morning, don't worry about it. We got you covered on our sister station, News Channel 8. Our coverage, live coverage, begins at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Jumi Alabanji and Michelle Marshall will be live out here on the mall for that. Let's go back inside now to Jumi for the rest of today's top stories. Hey, Jimmy.
All right, Larry, thank you. 6:07, and we are staying on top of a developing story from Hagerstown. A young girl pepper sprayed. We'll tell you about the new backlash today that police are prepping for right now. That story still ahead. Stick with us. We are back at 6:10 now on your Friday morning. And of course, we want to get a check at the forecast. So much going on this weekend. Veronica, what should people need to know?
First of all, that there's not going to be any big storms around the area. That means not any rain to deal with, but it does mean some warm temperatures for today first. So you're going to need the short sleeves, the sunglasses as well. Out of the next 3 days, today we're going to have the most sunshine. Now, how ironic, right? Because today is the first full day of fall, and we're talking about summer warmth. As far as sky conditions out there for kids from back to school, from the bus stop to dismissal time, you get a grade of A as far as the weather goes. We start out in the mid-60s. We'll top out today at 89 degrees. Recess time, I say extra recess time for today. 82 the temperature at recess. You can see by 7 o'clock there this evening, we've got mostly clear sky. So by 7 o'clock, if you plan on going to happy hour, we will be cooling off. But at the top of it, 5 o'clock again at 89 degrees. At least we've got some low humidity around the area. Julie, let's get a look at what's happening on area roads right now.
Looking better on the BW Parkway. The earlier crash that we had before the Beltway now gone. All lanes are open. Still seeing some delays out of Hyattsville headed northbound back up towards the Capitol Beltway. Southbound, all lanes are open, but you're on the brakes from Greenbelt headed back in towards the exits at 410. Now, southbound on Kenilworth Avenue, a lot of red here on the map. The crash is down at Pennsylvania Avenue, tying up the far left lane. Heads up trying to work your way into Northeast Washington. Inbound 50 slowing out of Cheverly, headed over towards the New York Kenilworth Avenue split. And don't forget the long-term work zone along Beach Drive. We talked about it yesterday. We'll be talking about it for months to come. Beach Drive shut down between Tilden Street and the Rock Creek Parkway. Connecticut Avenue, Georgia Avenue Avenue, 16th Street, all viable options for you as workarounds. That's our traffic watch. Back within the next 10 minutes. We're keeping a close eye on the roads and rails.
Julie, thank you. 6:12 now. And this morning, the First Lady hacked the personal information belonging to Michelle Obama that cyber thieves might now have their hands on. And all morning long, we are live at the National Museum of African American History and Culture as we count down to the grand opening. We are checking back in with Larry Smith live on the National Mall, coming up next.
The airplane on display inside the African American Museum of History and Culture was the first training plane used by the famed Tuskegee Airmen. You're watching Good Morning Washington on your side.
6:15 here on this Friday morning. Glad you're still with us on Good Morning Washington. Larry Smith here live on the National Mall as we are getting ready again, counting down to the opening of the Smithsonian African American Museum of History and Culture. 1 hour, 1 day, I should say, 7 hours and change until it opens at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Coming up much more in this hour, including a chat with Lonnie Bunch. He's the CEO and curator here of the Smithsonian Museum. And as well, we'll take a look inside at some of the things you can find. Very unique artifacts you can't find anywhere else. That's coming up here in just a few moments on Good Morning Washington. Right now, let's go back inside to Jumi.
All right, Larry, thank you. 6:16 into a developing story right now. New backlash in the day ahead after body cam footage shows a Hagerstown police officer apparently pepper spraying a 15-year-old girl. Suzanne Kennedy following new word of a planned protest for later on today. Suzanne?
Yeah, details about that in just a second, Jumi. But police released this video at the yesterday, showing what they say is the girl's refusal to cooperate with police officers after she allegedly struck a car with her bicycle. This all taking place last Sunday. The video shows the girl struggling with officers.
Get off of me! Calm down. Calm down.
Police unsuccessfully asked her several times to place her feet inside the cruiser so they could shut the door. An officer then pepper sprayed her.
Why didn't you listen?
I was listening. I was listening to everything they said.
But you weren't doing it.
I did not feel comfortable answering the questions that they were asking me.
The girl is now charged with assault, disorderly conduct, marijuana possession, and failure to obey a traffic device. Her family has hired a lawyer. Back to you.
All right, Suzanne, thank you. 6:18, and we are also following breaking news out of Charlotte this morning. Our Melanie Hastings joined us now from the live desk with more on that situation. Mel?
Jimmy, just minutes ago at 6 a.m., Charlotte, North Carolina lifted an overnight curfew. The mayor put it in place after a third straight night of protests. This followed the officer-involved shooting death of Keith Lamont Scott. Protesters stayed in the streets past the midnight curfew. However, police did not implement the curfew since the protests were largely peaceful. Just before 1 a.m., protesters were seen lying in the streets, others marching, some chanting, "Release the tapes." Meanwhile, Scott's family got to see 2 police videos of the incident, but said that they could not see what was in his hands when he was killed. That video is not being made public at this time. And we also learned that the person shot during Wednesday night's protests has died, that death being investigated as a homicide. I'm Melanie Hastings at the live desk. Jumi, back to you.
Okay, Mel, thank you. 6:19, and this morning, a major cyber investigation at the White House. Hackers leaked what could be First Lady Michelle Obama's passport information. Hackers obtaining a scan of her passport when they broke into a contractor's email. The image was then posted online. The White House is not confirming the authenticity of the passport, but it has taken this issue seriously. The contractor's email also contained information about Vice President Joe Biden. The group DC Leaks is claiming responsibility for this one.
Well,
all righty.
even she can't be
I
safe.
know, yeah. We're all at risk. Okay, 6:19 now. Obviously, time to talk the forecast. I mean, lots going on this weekend. Sporting events, of course, the museum opening, and the weather going to be?
Very much so.
Okay.
How about 2? Because we're going to move from one season to the next inside of 3 days.
Perfect.
So that means a little something for everybody. If you like it hot, you get a little bit of heat today. If you like it cool, we certainly have that coming up toward the tail end of the weekend. Today, though, know that our temperatures will be starting out on the lower side of things. Even upper 50s in a location or 2. But 60 to 65 will be in that pocket for the bus stop forecast. A cooler start for us, but with sunshine again, we'll be warming very nicely. So for the out to lunch forecast for today, by lunchtime we're at 83. By 2 o'clock today, 86 degrees. So again, nice to be out of the next couple of days. It's today that we'll have the brightest sky. Doesn't mean it's not going to be all that shabby either. Come the weekend, look at this. Saturday we're partly sunny. By the end of Saturday, late, right around sunset, I think we'll turn mostly cloudy. Still should be a beautiful sunset though, from 79 to 73. Your cooler day Sunday, and that means temperatures are going to be dropping very quickly by the time we get to Sunday morning and even Monday morning. Look at Saturday night. If you plan on going to Opera in the outfield, that of course at FedEx Field, free admission, first come, first serve, but into the Nats Park. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Yeah. I know I am, right? Exactly. All right, well, here we go on Sunday. That front moves through, what cools us off, and there might be a spotty shower, I think, early Sunday morning. Culpeper, Rappahannock area, down toward Orange. I knew that sounded wrong when it was coming out, you know? It's like, ooh, let's pull it back. All right, Sunday morning, there's the change. The 50s that I'm talking about, more like fall. First today, summer, and then like fall. Those temperatures early Sunday morning, if you plan on doing anything down at the National Mall. 53 degrees the temperature, 52 Germantown and Gaithersburg. And of course, for the take along, which you'll need to know, jacket weather for Saturday, short sleeves for early part of the afternoon. So kind of dress in layers, if you will, for Saturday there. Julie?
All right. We're just all proud. You're rooting for the home team, no matter what sport. All right, on the roads right now, we're checking out your drive around town, and still a lot of slow traffic here on Kenilworth Avenue, headed into Northeast Washington. But first, we got to check in with Metro. Red line delays due to a train malfunction at Union Station. Expect slowdowns here on the red line. Orange, blue, and silver line, you can expect delays. There's single tracking between Eastern Market and Stadium Armory, and that's due to a piece of disabled equipment outside of Stadium Armory. Now, here on the roads, headed into Northeast, northeast. Kenilworth Avenue at Pennsylvania Avenue. The crash blocking the far left lane. You're on the brakes coming off of 50 out of Chevrolet headed south. Don't forget the long-term construction that's in place. Beach Drive blocked off between Tilden and the Rock Creek Parkway. Connecticut Avenue, Georgia, even 16th Street. All viable options for you this morning if you want to stick with that as your workarounds. That's our traffic watch. Back within the next 10 minutes. We'll keep a close eye on your ride into Northeast. Julie?
All right, Julie, thank you. 6:22, and coming up, our coverage of the museum opening continues. Larry Smith joins us live from the National Mall with what's up next. Larry.
Yeah, Jumi, you know, you and I have spent so much time this calendar year with Lonnie Bunch. She is the CEO of the new museum here on the mall. And coming up, we'll hear from him, and he talks about why experiencing history through this museum is really a one-of-a-kind experience. Stay with us. Much more coming up here on Good Morning Washington.
The idea of a National African American Museum was first proposed in 1915 as a tribute to those who had served in the military. You're watching Good Morning Washington on your side.
Well, our coverage continues here on Good Morning Washington. Glad you're with us here. I'm Larry Smith, live on the National Mall, as tomorrow it is here, the opening of the Smithsonian National African American Museum of History and Culture. As we've talked about before, this was signed into being, if you will, back in 2003. And in 2005, Lonnie Bunch took over as the founding director. And what an 11-year run it has been for Lonnie, a lifetime historian and curator, traveling the world to gather artifacts and to raise money as well, as half of the $540 million prize tag came from private donations. Lonnie has talked extensively about the challenges that he faced, and really all along trying to make sure that the wishes of the public are represented in this museum.
You will feel those moments where you'll say, boy, this is painful. But you'll also feel those moments where you'll understand the resiliency and the optimism. This is a museum that evolves over time. Would I love to have a Nobel Peace Prize? Sure. But the reality is you can come to this museum and you'll understand King in profound ways, through artifacts, through his own words, through the media we put together.
Yeah, talking about, again, Martin Luther King, there's some controversy that there's no artifacts here. The King children, again, try to still negotiate to get some of the things from him out of their archives there in Atlanta. But I will tell you right now, when you come in here, there is just a profound sense of being. I think that you certainly will make you think. It will possibly allow you to learn some things and to feel. I've been inside 3 times. My tickets are next Tuesday afternoon. I will tell you right now, if you see me with a handkerchief, just keep on walking. As a father of 2 teenage kids, I cannot wait for our next generation to come in and learn the stories that needed to be told and now will be told here in this museum. We have so much more to come here from the National Mall. Let's go back inside right now to Julie.
All right, Larry, thank you. 6:27 now on your Friday. Plenty more still to come here on Good Morning Washington. Coming up after the break, more of our museum coverage. We'll talk about the big security push, road closures, and what you need to know if you want to be one of the first in that museum. Stay with us. More of our coverage coming up after the break.
Live from the National Museum of African American History and Culture, this is a special edition of Good Morning Washington.
I'm glad you're with us here on this Friday morning as we continue to count down to the opening of the new museum. It is, if you're following along, the final museum spot, according to the Macmillan Plan back in 1902, that Congress has used as the blueprint to kind of how our National Mall would look over time. It is the closest one here to the National Monument, and in about 15 minutes we'll take you inside and show you some of the artifacts inside this amazing building, more than half of which is underground. It is truly something to see, and how it's so exciting again to be a part of all of this. More coming up in a moment. Right now, let's get inside to Veronica Johnson for a look at our forecast today and for the weekend. Hey, BJ.
Hey there, Larry. Yeah, great job out there. It's a little nippy in some areas, especially once you get outside of D.C. Gaithersburg now at 57 degrees. Looking at 59 too in Ashburn. We're 67 though in D.C. Cool start for us, but we're going to warm very rapidly, getting close to 90 degrees today. Yep, 90 almost. That means short sleeves for today. That really is the average for the 1st of September. September. Average for this time of year at 77 degrees. By lunchtime already we're at about 80 degrees. And this evening, if you have plans to go out under a mostly clear sky, temperatures will be about 78. Here's a look at Saturday now. We start out with a few clouds, and those clouds will increase by the time we get to about lunchtime, 1 o'clock. We're at 77. So Saturday, guys, on the cooler side of things. It's short sleeves for the afternoon, but a jacket early part of the day. Julie?
All right, well, SkyTrack 7's hanging out with us right now, Veronica. And for those traveling west of the Capitol Beltway along 450, this is what you'll find. We do have a little bit of police activity. That's traffic squeezing by to the left. Obviously not too much of a delay at this hour, but definitely something to watch out for along 450. And again, this is going to put it just west of the Capitol Beltway. All right, back inside and over to the maps, from the roads to the rails, because right now we do have some problems with the red line headed in the direction of Glenmont. Due to an earlier train malfunction at Union Station, you can expect delays. The orange, blue, and silver lines, all single tracking between Eastern Market and Stadium Armory. Again, this is due to a piece of disabled equipment that was left on the tracks at Stadium Armory. No accidents to report now. Southbound Kenilworth Avenue, the crash down at Pennsylvania Avenue is gone. About a 47-minute commute coming out of Cheverly, headed back out towards Pennsylvania Avenue, but again, all lanes are open. That's our traffic watch. Back within the next 10 minutes, keeping a close eye on your ride headed into Northeast. Jumi?
All right, Julie, thank you. 6:33 and breaking overnight. 2 people stabbed in Burke, Virginia, and the attacker or attackers still on the run this morning. Kevin Lewis live with the investigation that is playing out right now in Fairfax County. Kevin.
Well, good morning, Jimmy. Police were called to this Burke townhome community around 2 a.m. for a home invasion. Right here is the police line. Beyond that, you can see a number of yellow evidence markers that lead from the parking lot up the townhome's concrete steps and then inside of the actual home. Each marker is sitting beside a pool or splotch of blood. Now, according to police, 4 individuals stormed this home, stabbing a middle-aged man inside. Then minutes later, police were called to a second home invasion only a few blocks away. There they found another middle-aged man with stab wounds. Detectives are interviewing one of those guys right now at the hospital. The second is undergoing surgery. Both are expected to survive. We saw CSI techs out here overnight taking photos of the scene and also putting up a wider crime scene area. We can tell you at this point that there is no motive, but police say that these 2 home invasions are connected, and in fact, the family members in each home do know each other. Again, 4 suspects on the loose right now, and these victims are expected to survive. We are live in Burke this morning. I'm Kevin Lewis for Good Morning Washington.
All right, Kevin, thank you. 6:34 now and breaking overnight, some shocking new revelations from South Korea. That country saying it is ready to assassinate North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. Melanie Hastings following this story for us from the live desk. Mel?
Jumi, it has long been rumored South Korea has had such a plan, but now a surprise move from that country's defense minister confirming the South's controversial plan to, quote, eliminate the enemy's leadership. South Korea stresses this is just a contingency measure. It says elite troops are on standby, but that the military would only enact this drastic plan if the country were to feel threatened by North Korea's nuclear weapons. Meantime, Pyongyang in the north is pointing fingers at the U.S., saying our recent flyovers of B-2 bombers are pushing the peninsula to war. North Korea has so far conducted 5 unsanctioned tests of nuclear weapons. Now, South Korea has intensified its rhetoric against the North since their successful test of a nuclear warhead on September 9th. I'm Melanie Hastings at the live desk. Jumi, back to you.
All right, Mel, thank you. 6:35 now on your Friday morning. Still ahead here on Good Morning Washington. More of our coverage from the National Mall outside of the brand new Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture. We'll check back in with Larry Smith for more on our coverage coming up here after the break.
The 400,000 square foot museum comes at a price tag of $540 million, half of which came from private donations.
.38 back on a Friday morning, and we want to talk about the forecast. So much going on this weekend, and the good news is it is going to be pretty much perfect. Let's get right over to VJ. She's got a check of the forecast for us.
Just that, perfect for today, certainly. I give today an A- because we've got a code orange air quality alert for parts of the area just because of the stagnant air and those high readings that we're expecting. Right now, though, we're cooler in the 50s. Most neighborhoods, 57, one of the cooler spots, Manassas, 67 right now in D.C. It's fewer clouds than the last couple of mornings as well. So it's going to be a bright one for us today, going up close to 90 degrees, and that's unseasonably warm for this time of year, considering that typically we're in the 70s across the area. So 87, 89 by the afternoon, feeling a lot like summer, just minus all the humidity, and with even lower humidity, drier air moving in on Sunday during the early morning hours. That really is the big change that you're going to notice. We go from 89 for a high today to 59 degrees by Sunday morning. So get the long sleeves ready. It's going to feel much like fall. So ironically, today being the first full day of fall, we get up to 89. We drop 10 degrees by Saturday, and then another few degrees by Sunday. In just a couple of minutes, I'll be back. We'll take a detailed look, hourly look at Sunday, because parts of the area could have a little shower or two around the area. That's coming up in again about 10. Julie?
All right, VJ. Well, right now we're going to check in with Skytrax 7. They happen to be about 450 headed over in the direction of Landover, and that's where you're going to find some delays if you are traveling west of the Beltway. This is where we had some police activity. So again, keep this in mind. Traffic is able to get by without too much of a backup. All right, back over to our map so we can update the ride elsewhere. You will find if you were eastbound 66 coming out of Centerville, all lanes are open passing the rest area with some delays from Manassas. About a 27-minute commute right now leaving business 234. Within the hour, our traffic watch forecast looks like it'll be about a 34-minute commute headed east, so plan your trip accordingly. Better news headed inbound on Kenilworth Avenue. The crash we had at Pennsylvania Avenue has cleared. Still slow moving, about 10 miles an hour. 15-minute commute coming inbound right now, but within the hour, that's going to tack on about an extra 10 minutes. So again, heads up inbound along Kenilworth Avenue, trying to make your way through Northeast. No accidents to report right now if you're traveling at the Wilson Bridge. Red line dealing with some delays because of an earlier train malfunction. Orange, blue, and silver line single tracking between Eastern Market and Stadium Armory due to earlier problems with disabled equipment on the tracks. That's our traffic watch. Back within the next 10 minutes, and I'll update your ride on the top stretch of the Beltway. But right now, we toss it back out to Larry Smith, live outside the African American Natural History and Cultural Museum. It's a mouthful.
Very good, Julie. That's right. You've heard it so many times this morning, and you'll hear it a lot from now on. The doors open tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We've got total details for you here coming up. A special guest in just a few moments, and also a look inside at some of the things you might be able to see inside. John Gonzalez, what are you working on?
Well, Larry, as thousands get ready to descend on the National Mall for this historic weekend, at this hour we are already seeing the fences and extra police. Coming up on Good Morning Washington, I'll tell you everything you need to know about getting in and out this weekend.
Live from the National Museum of African American History and Culture, this is a special edition of Good Morning Washington.
Single place.
A study in time.
You do not expect to see a building like this.
Of where America has come from.
Slavery and freedom.
Of where it is now.
Justice and injustice.
Of everything it can be.
Don't let circumstance be an excuse for not achieving.
This building, telling the story of an America waiting in the wings, opening an historic chapter in the heart of our country's capital.
Some things we don't need to repeat, but we need to understand them.
Well, it's an impressive structure, as we say good morning to you here live from the National Mall. I'm Larry Smith. We are counting down now to the opening of the Smithsonian African American Museum of History and Culture. 1 hour, or 1 day, I should say, and 6 hours and change until it opens at 1 o'clock tomorrow here on the National Mall. And what a story, this fantastic Corona-shaped building. It is gorgeous, an amazing architectural feat of engineering to make this thing happen. And when you think about it, it was 101 years ago in 1915 when the idea of a national museum to honor those African Americans who had served in the military was first put forward, and here we are from 1915 to 2016. Finally, it is a reality. So tomorrow is the big day, and here's what you need to know. At 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, there is a special gathering and a musical ceremony that will be ahead of the dedication ceremony at 10 o'clock. President Barack Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, ringing the Liberty Bell from the First Baptist Church in Colonial Williamsburg, Virginia, one of the oldest black churches that dates back actually to 1776. That bell is here on the grounds. And at 1 o'clock tomorrow, the doors will open for the first time. Hopefully you have a ticket, but if not, hopefully you'll get down here very soon. Those are the opening details as we look at it now. More than 20,000 people expected for that ceremony. They're right now building the stage and everything, getting it ready for it. John Gonzalez is live for us on the other side of the National Mall with more details on that. Johnny, good morning.
Larry, good morning. What a special event, what a special weekend this is going to be. And I've been talking to someone from the National Park Service, and they tell me, look, there's going to be a lot of security, there's going to be a lot of police, but this shouldn't be anything new to us at this point. In fact, exactly a year ago today was when the Pope was coming down in his Popemobile here on Constitution Avenue, and well, today looks very similar. Take a look at all the fences that have been set up lining the National Mall, and just beyond the National Mall you have a lot of the tents and the stages, the jumbotrons that are being set up. Now, if we swing the camera all the way over to the corner of 17th and Constitution, that over there, you'll see it in a second, that is one of the security checkpoints. If you are coming down here this weekend, folks, you will go through a screening. Now, as the thousands descend, one big question is, where can people be? Where can they get in and out? Well, we can tell you we've already seen extra police this morning. Security is going to be very tight here over the next 3 days, regardless if you are coming to the dedication ceremony or the public concerts here. The National Park Service Police is handling this. They are the lead. They are getting help from DC Police and the Secret Service. After all, the White House is literally right across the street. The security checkpoints will be on 17th Street, at Constitution and Independence, and there are a number of items that you can't bring along, including coolers, bikes, chairs, folding tables, balloons, glass containers, and anything, Larry, police may deem a weapon. There will be jumbotrons. If you don't get into the museum, you will be able to see them on these big jumbotrons, Larry, here close to the Washington Monument. Back to you on the other side of the National Mall.
Okay, John, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. By the way, if you cannot make it out here tomorrow morning, be sure you can watch us on our sister station, News Channel 8, live complete coverage, team coverage of the dedication ceremony on News Channel 8 tomorrow morning beginning at 10 a.m. I'll be with you in studio. Jumio Olabanji and Michelle Marsh will be out here on the National Mall for this historic moment. Now, if you have not been inside, and chances are you haven't, I have, and here's some of the things you may see. Actually, there are some pieces of a slave ship that they unearthed off the coast of South Africa back in 2014. They have brought those here as part of the museum. There's a slave cabin that dates back to the early 1800s. They brought it in from Edisto Island, South Carolina, and it's an amazing vista. On one side, you can see, well, it's called the founding of America, and different timelines, different moments in history. On the front vista, out the front door of the cabin, it is the freedom of America and the fight for civil rights, and as well the Tuskegee plane, the first plane ever used by the Tuskegee Airmen back from the 1940s, is on display here as well. Coming up here in about 5 minutes, we will talk to the former First Lady of the District of Columbia, Cora Masters-Berry, and what this means to the residents here of our fine city. Jimmy, let's go back inside to you.
All right, Larry, thank you. 6:50. We switch to other news. Protesters upset about a pepper spraying incident in Hagerstown, planning a march today. A 15-year-old girl was arrested after allegedly hitting a vehicle with her bicycle. This police body cam video shows her struggling with officers. They asked her in the video several times to put her feet inside the cruiser so they could shut the door. An officer then pepper sprays her. She is charged with assault, disorderly conduct, marijuana possession, and failure to obey a traffic device. Her family, we've learned, has hired a lawyer. Protesters plan to meet at the police station at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And we're also following new developments in what's becoming a widening school scandal. The head of Prince George's County School System asking for state help now as he tries to get everything under control. The district, as you remember, lost federal funding for the Head Start program over systemic problems and allegations of abuse. Well, now school CEO Dr. Kevin Maxwell is asking the Maryland State Department of Education for a full audit to improve the situation and provide some clarity. Now, we are following this story and we'll bring you updates as they develop. 6:51 now, time for a check of the forecast with VJ.
Jimmy, we've been talking all morning long about all the folks coming to town. I sure hope that they've brought along a jacket, because while today is still going to feel kind of toasty warm, very warm in fact, we're going to be cooling way down this weekend, especially for anyone that's going to be out late. Now, this morning we're starting out in the 60s. I think by late morning, 9, 10 o'clock, we're closer to that 70-degree mark, and with a light wind around the area. Again, we're talking where it could have some pockets of poor air quality. 88 or 89 for a high temperature today in D.C. Other areas upper 80s as well. Culpeper, Rappahannock for your weekend. Chance of a shower. Now for Saturday at 7 a.m., 70 degrees. By the time we get to Sunday morning, Julie, those temperatures will be starting out in the 50s across the area. All next week, we've got seasonal conditions coming our way. 70s, finally fall. And we could get a little bit of rain on Tuesday, Wednesday.
All right, VJ, not looking forward to the rain, but we'll take the weekend. It's going to look nice. Right now around the Capitol Beltway, definitely got the slowdowns, especially headed into Northeast Washington. But first, we're going to take a look at your rails. Orange, blue, and silver line no longer single tracking, but you can expect delays due to a piece of disabled equipment between Eastern Market and Stadium Armory. So we hope to get things back to normal there. However, topside outer loop as you travel out of College Park into Silver Spring. Right now, a 22-minute commute headed westbound 495 within the hour. It'll be about a half-hour drive westbound headed from College Park in towards Bethesda. Now, for those on 395 leaving the Beltway, continuing inbound towards the 14th Street Bridge, a 17-minute ride right now within the hour. Add another 6 minutes to that commute as you travel north from the Beltway trying to get across the Potomac. That's our traffic watch. Back within the next 10 minutes with a look at the roads and the rails. But right now, we toss it back out to Larry Smith from the National Mall. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Julia, thanks so much. You know, community builder, dream maker, tennis and educational entrepreneur. She's a trailblazer as well. She has changed the lives of more than 15,000 youth here in the D.C., and she is not done yet. Welcome, Cora Masters Berry. She is the former First Lady of the District of Columbia. Good to have you here with us this morning.
Oh, it's a glorious morning to be here.
Isn't this wonderful?
Yes.
Tell me about what does this do, and how does this change the culture of African Americans here in the district?
Well, first of all, it's a place where we can take our kids and it's like Black History Month every day, which I really think that at this point the city ought to make it a part of its curriculum.
How does this personally affect you when you come down here and see this? Have you been inside yet?
I've been inside a couple of times, yes.
And your feelings?
Well, you know, I produce a Blacks in Wax History Month program with our scholars at the Southeast Tennis and Learning Center. So every year we're studying and we're researching. So when I walk into this museum, it's like all of that's coming alive. It's just like seeing the history of the movements, seeing the souls of the movements, seeing the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment that led way to slavery and us voting, and then the Civil Rights Movement, and then seeing it all come alive in that museum. It's just very inspirational, very educational.
Your husband, a former D.C. mayor and city councilman, Marion Barry, obviously is not here. What do you think he would think if he were to walk inside and see this incredible museum?
You know, my husband is a personification of the migration, and they have a section here talking about from fields to factory. He migrated from Tennessee and Mississippi and came and became the nation's capital's mayor. So he would be very inspired because not only did he watch history being made, he helped to make history. Yeah.
What are some things you're working on? I know you were always working to help the people here in the district.
Well, you know, we've got the Southeast Tennis and Learning Center. We're changing lives every day of the community and the children. And again, as I said, every year our kids at the Kennedy Center personify some of the movements and some of the people that are in there, almost all of the people that are in there. So it's just very exciting to make sure that our history keeps being told over and over again. And now people from all over the country, not just the city, come see it repeatedly. It's not a one-day trip, though.
No.
I mean, I think really it's a lifetime journey.
To go back and keep, and the exhibits will keep changing too, I agree. It is so good to have you with us today, Cora Masters Berry.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your time and for all that you do for us here in the district. We appreciate it. Okay, all right. We've got much more coming up here on Good Morning Washington right now. Let's go back inside to Jumi and Kit. Hey, guys.
Hey there. Thanks, Larry. 6:55, time to get in the now.
Yeah, Queen of Katwe opens in theaters this weekend based on a true story about a young girl named Fiona growing up in the slums of Uganda. The movie shows that any dream is possible no matter where you are from. Oscar-winning actress Lupita Nyong'o plays Fiona's mother in the movie. I recently sat down with her the same day she found out that she and the Oscar-winning film 12 Years a Slave would be featured in the new National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Yes, I just learned that there is, the 12 Years a Slave does feature at the museum, and one of the dresses that I wore as Patsy is also on exhibit.
What does it mean to you after being part of that and knowing now that this museum is opening that it's going to continue to tell stories like that?
I mean, I think it's invaluable to have that kind of home for this history and for people to be able to go in and interact and learn in an immersive way. I think it's very helpful. So I'm very honored to be a part of it, and I cannot wait to visit it.
It is an incredible movie, by the way. Go see it this weekend. It is one of those movies, when I saw it with people, they cheer, they clap at the end. It's really a great story. So big celebrities in town this weekend, of course, for the opening of the museum. Oprah, we think Oprah may be watching right now because she's in town, right? There's no way she's not watching.
She loves ABC. Come on.
Yes. Hi, Oprah. She's in town. She donated $21 million. Denzel Washington also in town. He donated $17 million to the museum. A bunch of A-listers here all weekend long. So keep your eye open for a bunch of celebrities. We've got much more coverage that continues when we move over to News Channel 8 coming up here at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, and that's happening in just 3 minutes. Thanks for joining us this Friday morning. We'll see you over on News Channel 8. Have a great day.